Hi, it's Mike and Mines. I'm Hudson Hot, Scotty Blaisdell, woo! Alan
Howdy.
Wagner, LMFT, our therapist. And I think we might be live. We don't know because we are so not techie. We
Hmm.
don't even know where this is going, who's looking at this. Even if you want to, you're watching it. Sort of like
Yep.
Expedia, right? Or is it Hotwire, Alan?
It's like you're in it. Yeah, exactly. It's non-refundable. So I'm looking at my phone and I guess I can see myself, but I don't know if I can see you guys talking.
Well, this would be great if it's just your part of the podcast is
Really?
streamed.
Okay, you're just only me streaming and they can't hear you. What are you doing? You're in a car again.
I'm
Yesterday,
I what's that?
what did you have behind you the other day?
I had the Parthenon in Nashville, Tennessee. Now I'm in Russellville, Arkansas. I'm actually
Russellville.
this is basically where my wife is from this area, and right behind me, you can't really see. You can only see the edge of it. Is where she worked as a teenager. It's a place called Taco Villa. I just ate a whole bunch of cheese. I'm in an enclosed
Stop.
space.
Just stop. I know how much you love. Was it government cheese?
Government cheese.
I have had government cheese.
You
I
have.
actually, Alan doesn't know this story. There was when I was growing up, we had a thing called, we call it commodities. And my family got government cheese, and it came in this, it was about that large. It's like a foot long, and it
Like
was
a
a
brick.
rectangular brown box uh, with plastic in it, and it was government cheese, like not sliced. It was just a big blob. And I snuck in one night and started reaching my hand in and eating this cheese.
Oh, God.
Then for many, many years, I couldn't eat cheese. I've I've
Forever.
gotten back to it now, but yeah, it didn't do well. Government cheese didn't
Okay,
do
so you are off obviously on a road trip to see family. You're back in Angie's
well.
neck of the woods. We've done many
Yeah,
conversation about her family.
we took well, it's basically it was a 13-hour drive from where we are in North Carolina to be in Arkansas. That was one of the advantages of being back on the mainland is you can just drive places. However, I don't. Some people love drives. Oh my gosh, my
Dude,
back is not loving it.
okay. And again, Alan, who is our therapist, right? Our celebrity therapist, he's getting to know certain things about Scotty. Here's what I'm concerned about. The damn hemorrhoids blowing out on you because you're
let
for a long time. Do you have one of those floaty things? I
me
mean,
let me show you what's under me right
stop
now.
it.
Oh
You
my
stop
God.
it right now. You lie. Stop
That
it.
is from
Okay.
Bucky's.
Oh my gosh.
You
I'm
know,
done.
Well, to be honest, this was more for the lower back, but it did find its way a little lower here as I've gotten a little more sore.
Wow.
Scotty,
It's he's
I
it's
got
always
can't.
about Bucky's, isn't it?
he has a Bucky's keychain. I've got a
A
yeah.
Bucky butt pillow.
If anyone's never been to Bucky's, it is they say
I've never been, you know.
Disneyland's supposed to be the happiest place on earth. When you're on a road trip, I think it's Bucky's.
Yep.
You've got,
Yeah.
I mean, it must have been 40 gas, pumps, and inside is like a combination of a gas station, I don't know, a Target. I mean, you can shop, you can eat homemade fudge, um, brisket sandwiches. It is
Oh,
awesome.
dude, like the Brit, like, yeah.
No, it really is crazy. Like I remember driving an electric car across country and they just put those chargers in places like Walmart's and Bucky's. So you
Hmm.
have 45 minutes to charge anyway. And you walk into that place and the smell is so overpowering of the
Yeah.
candied nuts and the fudge and the brisket. They have their own sodas and
Hmm.
everything, like plushy toys, and it's just crazy.
Apparently, Bucky's is a big deal. Like, I never knew about Bucky's, and I'm originally from, the East Coast, from New York City, but like I had never, done a road trip. I still haven't done one of those. But when we had moved from Los Angeles to the Outer Banks, Alan drove,
Yep.
right? I flew. He wanted to do the road trip, and that was the big to do is the
Oh,
Bucky's. He
wow.
brought me back some chocolate. and some
Hmm.
rocks. I don't know what the rocks, were all about, but I have some of those.
Yeah, I remember we were documenting it because we were doing it in a Tesla and we wanted to see if a Tesla could make it cross country with all the chargers. So we were videotaping it as our battery would go down, then we'd hit the next charger, and it totally worked. Like I didn't think you could go from California through all of the states and that it would actually work, but it actually guides you from charger to charger. It knows how long you have on battery and it'll turn you around if it
How
has to.
how long did it take you, like when you had to stop at a Bucky's or a Walmart to charge or whatever? How long does it take to get to the full charge? How much time did you have to spend in each location?
Somewhere between like 15 minutes and 45 minutes because
Oh,
sometimes it would have you stop just to do a 15-minute charge just to make sure you'd make it to the next destination. Other times it would have you do like a full charge. But it
yeah.
was 45 minutes at Bucky's, that's enough time. I mean you really can look at all the sweatshirts, you can look at the bathing suits, you
That
can
gives me so much anxiety, not knowing if you have enough charge to make it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that freaks me out.
No, that was the why we videotaped it was because we figured that's what everybody thinks about electric cars. Is like if I had one, what if I ran out of electricity?
Hmm.
So that we really put that to the test on a cross country trip because you're driving through every state, but at the same time, it worked.
Were there certain states where you're, I don't know, they're less accessible? Uh,
But well, believe it or not, when we got to North Carolina, I remember there was only one charging station in like probably like a 50-mile radius.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy.
so until I got the home charger set up, I would have to like be really mindful of how much I was driving and then drive all the way to the other one charger and there'd be like cars waiting for it. And
right.
so it is expanding. And I think, there's going to be more superchargers probably around. But yeah, North Carolina, I'm noticing more Teslas for sure. And I wasn't sure how that was going to play here actually with the Tesla. And but everything's been fine so far.
Why don't I'm just here's another $1 million idea for you. We
Oh,
love to
another
throw
free
things
idea
out.
you're giving everybody,
Yeah.
Scotty? Awesome.
Why don't on top of the Teslas they put like solar panels as part of the material that's up there on the top? Then as you're
That'd be a good
driving,
idea.
you're charging a little bit as well.
I know that would be genius. I think that's probably going to come at some point. You're right.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so you're doing the road trip. I don't want, so
I
you're
know. I'm
not
so
driving the
jealous.
Tesla.
We got to see Scotty in Nashville. He's eating tacos. Now he's in Arkansas eating tacos.
I know. I'm on a
Starting to
taco
think
tour.
Scotty likes tacos.
All I have to say is after reading this article that I saw this morning, dude, your
Hmm.
wife has got it made. She scored with you, buddy. She scored
How
with
is
you.
that? Oh, do tell. I want to make sure I
Okay.
pass this info
Did
to
you see
her.
the story about this woman who is suing her husband for not delivering all the promises? She wants her youth back. He took away her youth. Oh, no, like legit. Legit. Okay, I'm going to send you guys this. I want you guys to read this because to me this was a crazy like and
Wait,
it's
so
happening like
Hudson,
she's literally suing right now for this whole okay, basically, woman files for divorce after Chat GPT. Oh, this is another one. Sorry, there's like so many stories coming up I saved. Like, okay, so 26-year-old woman sues ex-husband for wasting her youth. She believed and believed every promise that he made about love, kids, building a future together. And now she's 26 years old, and after 6 years and a failed marriage, she is suing him for wasting her youth. And apparently, she feels like she's lost opportunity. He's robbed her of her primary years, okay, under the false premises of these false hopes. Now, granted, we're very lucky that we have a, licensed marriage therapist who's like one of the best in the country who probably deals with this. Imagine that. You delivered. You gave Angie the kids. You're taking her to Arkansas right now. She went to Bucky's.
The dream come true for her.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, okay, first of all, do you agree that those are your prime years?
Well, okay, so I am an advocate of women, okay? Like
Uh-huh.
and as Alan will tell you, I'm that girl's girl. Like I'll heart your pictures, I'll heart your kids' pictures. Am I right, Alan?
She's right.
I'm the first girl. If you want to know the brand of lip liner I'm using, other girls won't tell you. I will not only tell you, I'll tell you where you can get it on at a discount because I'm a bitch on a budget, right? I believe that in your 20s, you really don't fully know what you want in life yet. I really believe that only knowing now what I know, having
Mhm.
lived that life, my past, Scotty. I was all about the, bad boy attitude, like all the things that were bad for me, just bad, flat out bad. But it is the best time of your life, looks wise, and those years you can't get back. And it does cost women money to go and upkeep. Like women these days, they're doing facial rejuvenations, vaginal rejuvenations. That stuff ain't cheap, you know what I mean? And so that's going to cost money. And so Botox, fillers, all that, hair extensions. I mean, the
But why aren't you doing that at a young age when you're looking your best? What do
no,
you?
Yeah,
no.
I'm with Scotty on this one, Hudson. So if somebody's 26 years old and they're thinking that 20 to 26 was their best years, because I know for me as the therapist, and we're heading into marriage season of summer and everything, and
Is this a busy, this is
premarital,
the busiest time for
it's like a
you?
very busy time for premarital counseling. I would say people aren't really thinking about marriage these days till about 27, 28.
Mm.
And, I always kind of joke with people, and I won't get into it today, but about the three acts of life. But with act one being our single life, that's where we kind of figure out who we are, what we want, where we want to live, what we want to do for a living, and kind of really understand the trajectory of your life and how you want to finish. Because I always say that act two, which is the marriage, kid, house part, is the structural act of life, and it's really, really hard. But most people don't go into that till about 27, 28. Sometimes, in their mid 30s. But I don't believe that somebody at 26 years old who's a free agent, that her best years are behind her at 20.
Okay, well,
That's
I
crazy.
understand where she's coming from. So let me back up from this perspective of it. Granted, she's still young. She still can, get a guy, she's not like,
Yeah, she
li
could still have a baby. I mean, it's not like she's 44 years old or something
correct.
like that, and this guy led her
But
along.
when you look and feel your best, there is that age, okay, that you cannot get back. And so she had planned on spending her future marrying this dude, having children with him, and starting their forever life. Because when you get married, it's supposed to be forever. Let's not forget that. Scotty, my Christian man over here, am I right, brother? Can you give it a little preaching? I kid, but what?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just so distracted by what we haven't heard any of his side of the story. What is it that this guy supposedly did that robbed her of all of this? Is
Well,
it just
no, I guess it was a
taken?
bad marriage, a failed marriage. So
Yeah,
I
but
don't know. It
whose
didn't, the
fault is
story
that?
didn't give any of that. One can only assume, obviously. And if you know a woman, we've already assumed what he's done. He's
Well, look,
cheated. And I kid.
Well,
I'm
look,
kidding.
we can take this story and kind of extrapolate it a little bit if you guys want to. Because let's just say we looked at a person she met the guy at 30 and she was with him for, let's say, 7, 8 years. Now she's this free agent, she's 38 years old, and she understands that she's going into the dating world. And not only does it take like 6 months to a year to get over a failed relationship before you're really ready for a new one, now suddenly she's going on dates. Some of them are going to work out for a month. Some of them are going to work out for 3 months to find the guy that she's going to be with for a year, maybe move in with, maybe get engaged with. I mean, that could take a year in itself. So now she's looking at like 40 to even get to that point. And so I think, yeah, when people drop people in their late 30s or early 40s, they forget that the time to actually reconnect and find a new person and actually get to that place where you're engaged or you can have kids, that could be years in the process. So I think like when somebody wastes a person's 30s and they're not serious or wastes a person's, late 30s or even late 20s, that's one thing. I mean, 20 to 26, I understand this girl made a bad choice, but she could have bailed at after 2 years, after 3 years. It's not like, this is her
But
prime
maybe,
100
but
years.
Alan, but maybe she was really working on it. I want you guys just to pay attention here because it's not that it's that those were the best years of her life, okay? And she planned on forever. That was a broken promise. Whatever happened, let's just go with, something happened on his end and it ended, okay? But now she can't get those youthful years back, and it's going to cost her later in life to keep up the looks and to keep up the gym, the fitness, going to Erewhon, which is expensive. We're talking $30 for a little kombucha there. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm being facetious. Obviously, that is the biggest ripoff. If you're buying that, Jesus.
No, it's like buying guacamole at Chipotle.
Okay, don't you dare. I didn't know about that, by the way, that it was way expensive to add the guac to your order. And he gave me a hard time. But so what do you guys think? Do you think she's going to win this lawsuit? Because it's happening.
No, I don't think she's
Title.
if she shouldn't. And I think part of the reason why is because everybody does this in relationships. Everybody commits thinking it's going to be forever.
Yep.
That's why there's things like alimony and palimony and all these other monies. Um, if it did cost her an opportunity, career to follow him and support him or whatever, let the judges deal with that sort of stuff. But everybody who went into marriage, other than those marriages of convenience, or maybe forced into because you felt like there was an unplanned pregnancy or something, you tried to do whatever.
Right.
I think everybody goes into it with that idea. I gave it my best, and sometimes they fail. Matter of fact, correct me if I'm wrong, Alan. Most of the time they fail.
It's funny you say that, Scotty, because I'm like totally just with you 100%. That is
Wow.
that
Look
is
at this. I've
exact.
got two.
Yeah, that's exactly the reality of relationships. Relationships are awesome, and I know people can look at singlehood or they can look at being in a relationship. It's hard. It's hard having to make those compromises and adapt to another person and make choices based on another person. It's not for everyone, and most relationships do fail. Like I guess if we were to look at our success rates, the three of us, of how many people we've ever dated, and I guess none of us are single right now, but that means that there's our success rate is one out of how many? So I would say our
Right?
percentage of all three of us are pretty bad, even though we are not single, because most of our relationships have failed. And so I think that, to sit there and pretend that every relationship you go into is going to be perfect and forever is sort of naive. And this girl's got another thing coming, in my opinion, Hudson. But at the same time, that's what you deal with relationships. People put their best foot forward, they make promises. Sometimes they're telling the truth in their minds of what they're going to do. But as
Yeah.
life catches up to them, people are lazy or they revert to old habits or, family styles, and that's it.
So neither of you believe that you should get a refund on love if it doesn't work out.
I don't think so. And let me add the other thing, and I don't know if this is just my opinion. I don't have any sort of education in this stuff, but I think there's certain transitions in life, like when you go, say, from high school to college,
Yep.
and someone's in college, and you still have a girlfriend or whatever, boyfriend in high school. Those are two different lives that are going on, and that's I call it a transition, and
Mhm.
those relationships are want to end. Then you go from college or military service or whatever you go into regular single dumb. That's another transition where someone's in this, we're in this together, we're learning together, we're doing it. But then you go to another place in life. And this girl's 26. They probably went
Right.
through at least one of those transitions and probably maybe they ended up seeing life going in a different direction because those are natural transitions in life. Just a thought.
There's no sure thing with anything in life.
Nope.
You
No,
know, even with counseling, I'm sure, whatever. I mean, like, yeah, but I saw that story this morning and I was like, I thought that was crazy. And then the story after that was even next level crazy. Some woman, that was the story I wanted to move into. I just had to share this because Alan, I know that you deal with couples and counseling and do you ever I'm sure you deal with this a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, I deal with things definitely with women. I think for sure there's a time element that men aren't aware of. And I say this a lot because I think to be a woman, if you're listening to this, you understand what I'm talking about, which is that people are going to always ask you, especially after the age of 27, what's going on with you? How are you guys doing? Are you dating? Like if you're in a relationship and it's been going on for 2 or 3 or 4 years and you're not engaged or you're not married, then people are constantly asking what's going on with that. And you start to feel less than. If you're single, same sort of thing at 28, 29, you get this pressure from families. So I think when they're in a relationship, and let's say their little sister or their little brother is dating someone for a year and they get married and you've been with someone for 5 years, you start to feel pitiful. You start to feel really bad. And so I think
Mm.
like there's a time period for me that I would say, and I have an older sister. So for me as a brother, I have this feeling about women in general, which is if you're dating a woman who's above the age of 30, you should be sure. And if you're not sure, cut her loose. because keeping her for years and then cutting her loose definitely changes her options. Instead of dating someone her age, she's dating someone 10 years older, 15 years older. And so I think like it is fair that if a person is in that area where they want to have kids and then let's say they're mid 30s even, if you don't feel it, you should not be with that person for 3, 4, 5 years and then cut off at 40. I think that to me would be, yeah, you stole something from me. You stole my ability to have a family. You stole my ability to have a normal life because
Yeah.
the years that I could have done that are over now. And now I'm not dating like the handsome guy, I'm dating the old guy. And that I can understand the frustration if you're a woman listening to this. So, yeah, no, I don't think you play games with people in their late 20s, early 30s, or mid 30s. I think those are you got to find out if a girl wants kids, if she wants a family. And if she's not right for you, you can usually figure that out in the first few months. And people shouldn't be lazy and just let things drag. I always think of that, what was it, the 7 Year Engagement or something like that? Great movie, but no, you
That
don't
was a
you,
good movie. But you know what else also? Were you gonna say
Mhm.
something, Scotty?
I was going to say, how many times did Hudson and I, we would do the bridal expo in
Oh,
Hawaii, the wedding, and it would be the same couples coming year after year after year. And you're just like, when are you actually going to get
when are you
married?
gonna get married?
Yeah.
Like honestly, and they were all trying to win the Tahiti vacation we were giving away,
Yeah.
whatever, and they were still working on their wedding. But you know what I noticed like now, and maybe that's just 2025, but even like friends of mine who are divorced now, all right. I have some friends still who have never been married. You know what? They have zero intention of getting married. There's this thing that is going on. And I just remember like I planned the dress, I planned all of it. I knew where what I wanted, like all like it was a big buildup to get married and all the things. I mean, granted, because it's so costly to do and you've got to plan everything. But today, like even girls that I know that are 20, 25 years old, zero, zero, they don't want to get married.
Mm.
Do you guys notice that at all? A lot of that going on?
Well, Alan referred to the fact that people were getting engaged or married later in
Mhm.
life than when we were younger.
Yeah,
I think I see that absolutely to be the case, and I think there's not as much of a stigma attached
right.
to that. I'll tell you just a kind of a side note that's attached to this. I have a friend who's a pastor, and his daughter and he, since the time she was very little, they would take these walks together. And he said, I did something wrong as a parent because what they would do is they would pray for this ultimate relationship for her, this man of God, this person that's going to love and respect her and all that. Sounds all great, except she wasn't getting into these relationships. And because that was kind of the expectation he gave her, it made, as I think Alan was referring to, and you as well, the feeling of being less than because that prayer wasn't answered. I don't have that man. What is wrong with me? Why did I not get to this place? Instead of just being happy with who she was as an individual, being satisfied, and then trusting that if a relationship's meant to be, it will happen.
Well, look, I think
Wow.
one of the things
Yeah.
that I think about a lot is there's biological age and there's developmental age. And what is the age that we really know who we are? And I think that varies for people. There are
What
people,
age was it for you, Ellen, when you knew who you were?
maybe 27.
Scotty? When
I
do
was, I was, uh, I was going to say 28.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that doesn't mean that between, after college and up until 27, I wasn't doing things. I was building my identity. I was experimenting with my identity. And a
Yeah.
lot of things, that I have become things that I love and other things I don't do. I mean, I think that those are the years you try things. But it wasn't until about 27, 28 that I knew what I wanted. I knew what would make me happy. I knew what was toxic in a relationship for me. I think everyone is different in their relationships, but I knew what didn't work for me. And I could be a lot more selective at that age as far as dating because it's not just a pretty face anymore. There's very specific things, and you don't want to just keep repeating the same, rinse and repeat on inappropriate people. So I think it's about 27
rinse
that
and
you should
repeat?
probably
Yeah.
have at least one relationship under your belt that probably didn't go well. You've dated a bunch of people. And I think at that point, maybe you have a better idea of what you could coexist with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I will tell you one thing, because I know that you are traveling and you're in your car, and we were going to keep this sort of short today because we've got an interview with a certain publication later on, which we're really excited and we'll be sharing it with you. So we're really excited about this. But like one thing I know from Alan, ever since I married Alan, that keeps like to keep your marriage just like awesome is the date nights. And I know like
Mm.
Scott, like there are certain things that keep it always like maybe Alan, you could share some of those because I don't want to share a whole life because I mean I can throughout our podcast and I'm happy to do so. But I think there are certain things that keeps that spark just on fire all the time, where you still find that person sexy as all get out. They make you feel like there's just certain things. So maybe you could give some tips, Alan, because maybe that's what this person was lacking in their life. You know what I mean? This 26-year-old, maybe they weren't getting that, that thing.
If you're a married person living, listen to this, I think you understand that life can go into cruise control and you could very easily become roommates where you come home, you talk about logistical things like kids or your place or what you're doing, you watch TV together, you play on your phones together. And in those kinds of situations, yeah, it's not that exciting and you don't really get that connection. I think for Hudson and I think what's worked, and again, I'm not trying to say that we're like the best couple or anything like that,
No,
but
it's what works for
no,
us.
what works for us, I think, is living in the future. And I tell this to most couples. It's that, we all have to deal with bad days. We all have to deal with the things that can happen and throw us off course. And, maybe it's a restaurant, didn't have the food we wanted. Maybe we didn't do something at work that we wanted to accomplish or something with our kids. But we all have bad days. But the question is, are you hurling positive things into your future that will eventually beat today? And, for example, for us, we're going to see Teddy Swims tonight. And
And
I'm
it's raining here.
it's raining, but it's gonna be our first. I was telling her I've been to a
Teddy will literally swim.
He
yeah, I
was
know, seriously. I was saying I've been to a rainy baseball game before with an umbrella because they play through it, but I've never been to a concert with an umbrella. So that's going to be our first time tonight. But we were looking up to this concert and we have actually like what we were saying, like three or four more planned coming up. We've got G Love
yeah.
coming up, we've got Weird Al Yankovic coming up, we've got Glass Animals coming up, lots of cool stuff coming up. And so and not to mention restaurants and like cool fishing things we want to do. So if you're and a trip to the East Coast up in the Northeast. So I think if you live in the future and you're planning stuff right now, it's in May, stuff to do in June, stuff to do in July, stuff to do in August, September. It's never what do you want to do tonight? It's never what should we do? And especially when you're doing cool things like planning a camping trip, which we're doing with some friends here, for later in the summer, those are the kind of things that keep your relationship moving forward because it's not, just watching a TV show. It's actually new novel experiences that are always happening. And I think when you go through novel experiences like you're doing right now with your wife, and maybe it's not novel for you, you've been to Arkansas, but that was probably your first time in Nashville getting to
Long road trip,
Yeah.
Bucky's.
and Bucky's.
Yeah.
Something is silly. You're right, Hudson. Something as silly as Bucky's.
Correct.
It,
That's what I'm
it was
talking about. It's
so
silly.
like doing a cross country road trip. I was so looking forward to it. And I know a lot of people probably were like, "What? She flew and you drove?" But in reality, I was so looking forward to it because it was a bonding time with my kid, and we were going to
Yep.
Bucky's and hitting like places in Mississippi and going.
Yeah.
It was like Arkansas, places that you normally wouldn't go. And not to say that I'm against any of those places. It's just that, I've never lived in those places. So why would I fly there? I don't have friends there, but I love them. I love going across America. And I think when you're in a relationship and you plan cool trips, and I see, couples that are planning those cruises through Eastern Europe, in the Baltics, if you're planning cool stuff or you're going down to Ecuador, you can have a
Yeah,
weird
but
day.
people who don't have, let's get out to
Yeah.
not think about your celebrity clients. People like us who can afford to drive to Arkansas from North Carolina because it's like a couple $100 in gas.
Uh-huh.
I mean, no matter where it is, whether you're in Hawaii and you can only go around the island, there's things that you can do and you can create that don't have to cost a lot of money. And it's also about like, just making the effort,
Yeah.
making the actual effort, whether it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I want to back up and ask, but I'm not going to go into deep. I'm very curious how you get Hudson camping. It's got to be glamping. It's got to be something where
Scotty
there's an
knows me.
RV
Scotty knows me
or
20 years,
He
Alan.
does. He does know you very well because is exactly what she was talking about was glamping. And I don't want to do glamping because our friends have this vehicle that can get us like to these really cool beaches. And you're not going to find glamping there. You're going to have to go put up your own little tent and air mattress and all that kind of stuff. But it's worth it, and I think, she's just going to have to tough it out. Look, I've pushed Hudson into some of the
God.
nastiest places and comfort inns and
Okay,
whatnot. So she
let me
needs to
tell you this.
understand that I'm not
I am going
hoity-toity.
to share this story. And even though part of this, I'm going to go as I tell the story, it
No,
still is a memory that I will never forget
never.
because we were planning a trip to North Carolina. It was our trip to come out here to go on vacation. And, everything was so costly in LA, like we couldn't even afford a vacation at that moment. So Alan's like, you know what? Don't worry. We need a break. We need to get away. We'll figure it out. We'll go on the cheap. We're not going to be staying in the hotel very much anyway. So I'll find something and we'll just make it work. We're going to do it on a budget. I
Mhm.
said, let's go. Because you know what? You can't not go because you don't like the quality of the hotel or the brand of airline, or you just got to have the experience. So I said, okay. So Alan books it and he books this hotel that is next to a strip club. Okay. Now, he didn't know this at the time, mind you. So it's Alan, myself, and Daniel, who's our youngest, right? And he's like 12 at this time. And we arrive and we check in, and the dude is so strange at the desk. It's late and he's acting really sketch. I'm already feeling weirded out by the hotel that we're in, but I'm going with it because Alan's booked it. Okay. Now, earlier in my life, I would have turned around and would have said, no way. But I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So weird guy. His name, can I give his name?
Yeah.
Frank. His name was Frank. So we met Frank, and Frank's like, oh man, you're gonna love this room. He's like, I stay here all the time. He's like, I stay in that room. It's a good room. I was like, fantastic, Frank. Thank you. So we walk in and we open the door. Again, it is on a scale of 1 to 10 with decorating, we're at a 3. Okay, we're at a 3. But this is where it gets good. So we walk over, and for me, it's always about the bed and like, does it have, are you going to feel springs? You know what I mean?
Did it have a coin slot?
You would have thought it did, because you know what? I go to feel the mattress and I sort of like pull the sheet back a little bit. And as I go to peel the sheet back, there's something hard. It's a hard substance dried on this sheet. It's almost like glue.
You're creating quite the visual here, Hudson.
I I honestly,
I'm feeling like you don't want a black light, is what you're
so
saying.
then the youngest comes go, oh, you know what that is? Okay. And then he says it out loud, and I have an anxiety attack. I'm freaking out. I am absolutely not staying in this room. I want to leave the hotel completely.
Do we need to say what it was? Because you're kind of leaving that out. It was ejaculate, most likely.
Oh, I don't think we were confused, but
Okay, I
thank
think
you,
we were
Alan.
all following, and I just want to make
I
sure
don't
people at
think
home
Alan, no one
understood.
needed to know. I think they figured it
Yeah.
out. Thank you for that, Alan.
Yes, it was a little
Alan
funny.
kept it clean. PC
He's
Scotty.
he's a
You
doctor.
like the terminology of
He's,
ejaculate that I used?
All
listen,
right. Oh,
Yeah.
righty.
listen. So now Alan says, no, don't worry. We're going to get a new room. Great. Okay. So here we are. We get a new room. Anyway, make the most of it. It was fine. There was none of that going on. It was the sketchiest place, but the people were really nice. That turned us on to some really good restaurants in
Yep.
the
Hmm.
area. There were families traveling also, and it turned into the funniest vacation ever. Like the three of us couldn't stop laughing about Frank, the sheets, and like, hey Frank.
Yep.
They also served the reason Alan picked it. Again, this is my husband. It's a free breakfast. You get free
Sure.
Yep. Scotty
egg,
knows what I'm talking
pancake
about.
machine. So again, these weird little campy things, turned out to be hilarious and like super fun. So like don't poo-poo these ideas because in my past, in my younger self, oh, I would have said hell no.
Yeah, I remember making a comment one time about you had never been into a place that the had Mart in the title.
Yep. It's true.
So you've definitely
I took her to
changed a lot.
Walmart for the first time, actually. I remember I make her go to Costco with me as well. And
I've
those,
always go to Costco. I mean, I lived at Costco and I lived in Hawaii. You couldn't,
yeah.
you'd always see me strolling to
We
Costco.
love to eat at Samples.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah, of course.
Oh
No,
Great
yeah.
restaurant.
but no, going back to the glamping thing. Look,
I
Hudson,
want to say hi to our Facebook friends, by the way. I see there are
yeah,
people jumping in, and I don't know how to communicate, Scotty. I don't even know where we're at right now, but you know, I think if you
Wherever you
see it,
are, thanks for
wherever
being
you
there.
are, it's just us. Hi.
yeah. I mean, I definitely make sure you subscribe on Apple or or Spotify or iHeart for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess the point is that Hudson's come a long way. I think probably from when you knew her in Hawaii, and that
Hmm.
she's willing to sort of go a little lowbrow. And to her point right now in this economy, and we were talking about ways people are adapting. Look, it's not that expensive to go camping. If you go to a campsite of America, it's pretty cheap to just get a slot. It's not what people think unless you go to one of those like fancy schmancy glamping kind of places. And you can always pick the restaurants that are not going to blow your budget. There's lots of little cute pancake houses around. You don't have to go to fancy restaurants. You can stay at the hotel that has breakfast. So whether you have money to do a fancy trip and go to Hawaii, go to Mexico, go to
Oh, I
Europe,
wish.
or whether or not you're doing like a road trip, and I think that's something that people underestimate. If you're listening to this, how many national parks have you been to? Because I know for me, I've been to a ton of them, especially when we were living in California. I would go into, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, and every time you go to national parks, you hear every language but English. It's like nobody in this country goes to them. But at the
Mm.
same time, it's all these Europeans and Asians and Middle Eastern people all coming to see some of the most breathtaking things you could see in our country, and it's virtually free. But yet
Scotty,
people
what's the
don't do it.
coolest? Go ahead. You have something to say.
No, it was probably along those lines. I said one of the best. Well, we always call it our best vacation ever was Alaska,
Yeah, that's what I want to
and
know. Like the best vacation that didn't cost you break the bank.
I will tell you, it did cost because we rented an RV, but I think because you're saving on hotel, you have your stuff with you all the time. We had a Class A, so everything is you're driving your vehicle and your clothes and everything everywhere you go. But we went to gosh, Mount McKinley. It
Oh
has
wow.
Mount Denali. Denali is what the name is now. But and took a trip in, saw wild animals, and saw bear, saw moose. Did that was one of those vacations where we had two teenagers at the time with us, and the thought of us being confined in the same vehicle for a week seemed like it wasn't a good idea, but we bonded. We played games together at night. We had every meal together. We hiked. We just had so much fun. So anything you can do all together and go see something in nature, I think
Yeah.
is a huge win. It really is very impactful. Plus, our world is so fast,
It is.
fast paced. To slow down, to smell, to see, all the senses are awakened. We laughed and we just really bonded. It was great.
You know
That's
what?
awesome.
I always tell couples hiking is a great way to have conversations because I can get into another episode about the parallel conversations, but the things that come up with people while they're not looking at each other and they're just walking are the coolest, most intimate conversations sometimes. And hiking is free. And so I've always kind of felt like that's something that people should do a lot more of for sure. For me too, on the cost level, one of the cool things about being in North Carolina versus California is we don't have smog. And so
Mm.
Hudson knows this about me. Every night, I love to go outside and turn off all the lights and just see the stars. And it reminds me of when I lived in Arizona. You could just see every constellation and the way the stars and everything move across the sky and sometimes see planets. It's amazing and it's free. So I think, for
And it's
couples,
free.
And it's free. So I think, it's like for couples, I don't think we need to eat lobster all the time. I don't think we need to fly on planes all the time. I don't think we need to stay in fancy hotels that have, a person, a concierge who takes you upstairs and opens the room and shows it to you. I think sometimes it's fine to stay next to a strip club. It's fine to, it's just a bed. You get a cool story about some ejaculate on your sheets. But at the end of
Oh,
the day, we've got a
God.
great, we
Can
got
we
a
say
great,
the word
Can
three
I
more
just tell you
times?
the
yes.
grossest thing
Just
ever? But you know what was crazy too
It
is
was,
that the
at least it
strip club,
wasn't moist.
we
It wasn't
wound up, the
moist.
three of us, with the young one in the car because we couldn't stop with the strip club. It was called the Cheetah or something.
Yeah.
Literally, we would drive and circle around it just to see who was going in. The three of us, after we would come back from the beach and stuff, like who's going in
Mhm.
there? And literally, we saw some guy dropping his wife off saying, "Hey, baby, have a great day at work tonight." Yeah.
Yep. People forget it. Strip clubs can be very family oriented. So,
wait.
no, no. But in all seriousness, I think if people
Sorry.
if people can kind of get out of their bougie sort of mindset and realize that, like
Yeah,
you said, nature's free. You can see eagles, you can see bears, you can see wolves, you can see moose. There's so many cool spots in this country, whether you go to the mountains, you go to the canyons, you go to the
yep.
rivers, you go to the lakes, fishing, fly fishing in Montana. Like this is not something that's going to break the bank. And if you're willing to drive there and you're not somebody who needs to be staying in some elaborate accommodation, you can have the most amazing intimate experience. So to Hudson's thing about how do you keep a relationship strong and going back and full circle to what that girl was saying, it's about staying in the future, but having novel experiences. And when you're in nature, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what animal's going to come up around the tree. You don't know where you're even going most of the time if you've never been there. But sometimes you get to
You
these.
know that I came face to face with the bear. I know, Scotty, you know that because we had my dad on. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we went
Did
hiking.
you
We
jump up
were
and
hiking
down?
in the woods, my dad and I, and then all of a sudden, my dad's face. And he's like, okay. He's like, there's a bear right there, and I'm going to sing. I remember him saying that if he sang, because he's a really bad singer, that it was going to scare the bear away. I think he was just so scared he had said that to me. I don't remember, but he was ready to throw me up in a tree is what was going to happen, which was not a smart idea. But I mean, thankfully the bear saw an apple tree and went there and we took off. But I mean, literally big, huge ass black bear. I mean, a monster of a bear. I was a little kid.
Wow,
Crazy.
that is
But that was
pretty
Yeah.
so
cool.
cool.
Those
Thinking
are the
back
ones
on it.
you go, hey bear, hey bear. You're
Oh
Yeah,
supposed to
my
get
I was
gosh.
supposed to
asking
get as big as you can, and you're supposed to get as loud as
Scotty. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, was Hudson jumping up and down, waving her arms and
you
yelling at
can.
the bear? Like isn't that what they tell you to do? Is jump up and down and make yourself like
Yeah.
Yeah,
big as possible.
but
But
not the round ones. Don't do that to the brown ones.
No.
but
All
but in
right.
all
So anything
seriousness,
cool and cheap you're doing before we sign off until Friday? Listen, what kind of cool cheap thing you're going to be doing today or this in the next couple of days?
Uh, well, it's mostly visiting family, which is always a nice way to save on the expenses.
Yeah,
But
but you need some romance in there, Scotty.
uh, I don't know if that's going to happen. We're staying with the mother-in-law.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I
Now, do
will
you
tell
guys
you,
stay in separate? Now, is she the kind of mom where even though you're married, she still wants you to stay in a separate, because those old values?
no,
No.
this
No.
is the South. No,
Oh, okay.
there, yeah.
I didn't know.
So
I'm just asking. You never know.
So I will tell you interesting thing about our accommodations. They don't have sewer, so they
Wait,
have the septic tank.
wait.
So
What does that
no,
mean?
that means don't flush the toilet paper. So this is how we're dealing. So imagine that. Get your mind around what
Wait,
that means.
what do you do with
That's
the toilet paper?
Yeah. There's a little trash can, and you need to deal with. The water is from a well, and it's not great. And so we brush our teeth with bottled water.
oh my
I
God.
mean, we're in the woods. They literally have an outhouse. It's not active, but it's there.
Does it have that little
Uh,
moon carving on the wood?
yeah, it's the whole thing. You get
No.
it. Yeah.
Can you live stream on Friday from there?
No, because we're in
Outhouse?
the woods. I don't know if you caught that part.
Yeah, I did catch
Yeah,
that.
no, I'm
Not
just
much.
That'd be
imagining
so
like,
incredible. I've heard
yeah,
about this.
I mean,
I remember
it's
years
a
ago you
dirt
telling me.
road. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, does her mama have a gun?
Yes. She's the one. We took a picture of her carrying. She goes, "We're going to take a walk over to Aunt Thelma's house. Let me get my gun." And we did. And so we're walking. She's got a gun, wearing shorts and boots.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it.
Oh my gosh, these are going to be great
So,
stories.
so Russellville, by the way, home of ConAgra Foods. If you buy any sort of frozen dinners, the burritos, and different
Hmm.
meal. Also, Tyson Chicken is here,
Ooh,
and a few
we like
other
Tyson chicken.
We
a
do.
few other things. Well, this is where they killed him, Hudson. So come on over. This is
This is where they slaughter all the chickens to make
yes, they're
nuggets
getting
that we so
slaughtered right
enjoy.
now, just down the
Yes.
road.
Wow. Maybe, you know what? That'd be fun. Maybe you could go over to the why don't you, do they do
We could do like
tours?
a split screen of Hudson eating chicken nuggets while we're at the
Yes.
chicken factory on the other half,
Oh
seeing how they
my
get
God.
made, how we make the
No,
sausage.
but I wonder if you could do a tour.
Well,
Like is
my wife had relatives who they used to work in one of these back before machinery did everything, and they would grab the chicken by the head and just swing it and
Oh
like
God.
crack its neck.
oh my gosh.
But
Okay, that's a
There you go.
bad
I want you to
okay.
have that in your mind
Yeah,
all
that's
day.
not going to be our final visual on this podcast.
that
So
yeah.
we're
I
going to
don't
go
want that
back.
to be
We're
our
going to
Can we
go
final
go
back.
back to that
Yeah,
bed,
we're going to go
please?
back to
No.
the original story of the 26-year-old girl who felt her life was ruined. And we're going to just say this. Look, when you're a woman or a man, you make choices. You don't know who you are in your 20s. You may make a promise, you may not keep it, not because you're a liar, because you don't know who the hell you are. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, personally, this woman is a joke. But at the same time, it's like, look,
She's
we
got a
need to
lawsuit
make our
going on.
decisions. I don't think people should stay in relationships past 2 years if there isn't something that you're getting from it. I've always kind of thought the 2 year mark, people always, ask me how long till people get engaged or move in. It's about 2 years. 2 years after that, people are starting to clock watch. Their friends and family are saying things. Everybody's starting to wonder what's going on. So
Yeah.
after 2 years, you better be thinking about proposing or moving in or whatever you're going to do. But again, we have that 2 year window to see who we're with, and she stayed 6 years. That's her problem.
That's her problem.
let,
Well,
let me add this one thing. You ask a question, what romantic thing am I doing? I don't think I'm doing anything overtly romantic, but I think it's important in relationships that you go places because it matters to the other person and
Yes.
you help them have the experience they need to have with their family and you encourage them to hang out with their old friends and reminisce and do all the things that made them who they are that you fell in love with. So even though it's not on purpose, I think there is a natural lovingness to spending time
oh, absolutely,
doing
Scotty.
things like that
You score massive points for that one. And one thing,
with a good attitude, by the way,
Yep.
with a good
with a good
attitude.
attitude, correct. And I will tell you that I will tell you this. This is one thing I've always said this about you, Scotty. We've never ever agreed on anything, but the one thing I do always tell people is you are a fantastic husband. Did I not tell you that, Alan?
You said he was okay.
I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
not. That's not true. I
No, I'm joking. No, no, she loves you, Scotty, and
yeah.
she loved your wife, and she loves your kids, and she's
Right.
always
But this
said
is
that
one
about
thing
you.
I will always talk about you as a man and that, it's things like that. And those are things that keep and trust me, we women notice those things and those things mean the most. We sometimes we're so wrapped up in those moments of reminiscing with our girlfriends and you're hanging out and you're bored to death. You just want to stick pins in your eyeballs because you've heard this story 1,050 times and you're
Mhm.
going to hear it 1,051. Okay. But you're doing it and you're smiling and you're there. And at the end of the day, we are so happy. Oh my God, can you believe that? All that.
You know what this is like? This is like Harry
Oh my
Styles. Remember Hudson when we went to go
God.
see Harry
Oh my
Styles?
kids.
If you could see Scotty right now, if you guys are watching the YouTube, you're seeing that he's playing with his Buckies, like getting a massage or something. But it's like, but no,
It's
yeah, it's honestly, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, good job, Scotty. Keep it up and we'll be back with you for another live stream on Friday.
yeah,
Lord knows where you're going to be, but we do have to do the first in story. We promised that in every episode we'd give a shout out to the first person in our story on our Instagram. Our name is Mike and Mind, and that's spelled MIC, like the microphone, Mike, check 1, 2. Does my mic sound nice?
Should we
Mike and
give
Mind.
out our YouTube also?
It's out. Yeah, let's give out our YouTube, Alan.
It's at the real Mike and Mind.
Do you know why we have to do the real Mike and
Is
Mind?
there a fake Mike in mind?
Yeah.
There's
So
another Mike and Mind. They
it's
tried.
crazy.
They did 2 episodes. It
But
didn't
They
work
tried
out.
and failed.
They failed.
Steven Strader on Instagram, first in story. We want to say thank you so very much. Be sure and give Steve a follow. Steve actually is a salesman at a automobile dealership. Sells
Cool.
multiple different kinds of cars. Go see him. I'm not exactly sure where, but he's one of our friends. He follows our Instagram and he's a subscriber. So with that being said, are you a subscriber? Have you liked it yet? Did you subscribe? Because you know what? If you haven't, get to doing it right now.
Give us
Like and
5 stars. You don't
subscribe.
even have
Mike
to
and
look. You don't
Mike.
even have to listen. Just subscribe.
Nope.
Just subscribe.
Yeah. This is the realest right here. This
Yep.
is crazy. Scotty in the car, sitting on a Bucky's blow up floaty thing for his hemorrhoids. It's incredible. Mike and Mind. I'm Hudson.
See ya.
And I'm Alan.
I'm Scotty.
Aloha,
Yeah.
guys.